La 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 la.
Good evening, one and all. Welcome along to season 2, episode 95 of the UK Dallas Cowboys podcast. We are doubling up and having a very Christmas special. So I'm joined by all of the nations tonight. So we have in Wales, we have Mike Pollard.
Hola.
Down in Yorkshire, we have Jamie Smith.
Yep.
And up north of the wall, we have the wonderful Mr. Paul Stewart. How are you all doing, gentlemen?
I'm just looking forward to Christmas dinner.
It's 9 o'clock, so that's beer o'clock. Whoop whoop.
I'm just looking forward to get my Christmas dinner. To be honest with you, man.
Yeah. I know. I picked the turkey up yesterday, and obviously, when we ordered the turkey on the premise that we were having both sides of the family over. Well, obviously it's all changed, didn't it, because of Rona. So, we got a massive, stupidly big turkey for, just a couple of us.
Mike, have you got a parent,
Happy holidays, Mom.
Off the Friends episode from Thanksgiving, you've got some jelly pants.
Yeah. Yeah. You are my Everest.
It's very true. So most importantly, guys, how is your turkey being done?
I don't know. I'm not doing the fucking cooking. It's my mum. You fucking joking? I'll probably set the house on fire.
Or give everyone food poisoning.
I could burn the turkey that you put in your sarnies.
Yeah, I've said before that Jamie burns baked beans.
This is this is me in a fucking nutshell, right? I'll end up falling asleep, pissed out, drunk, and forgot about it. Next thing, all I can smell is smoke and somebody battering the door in, and it's the fire department. That's me.
Been there, done that. That happened with me in a saucepan of super noodles at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Try that with a pizza that turned into remember Teenage Ninja Hero Turtles 3, the one that go to Japan.
Yeah,
and where Michelangelo burns the pizza and turns it into a frisbee. That was me.
I once did it. I come home from a sesh at 4:30 in the morning, decided I'll make my dinner for work, put pasta on and fell asleep.
Oh, Jesus. Very swiftly moving along from the UK Dallas Cowboys cooking show. We're on a strict schedule tonight, so Mike has to get off by 10 o'clock. So obviously from the weekend, Cowboys won 41-33. We're now
yes!
Volume warning, everyone.
Joint second in the NFC East. We still need to win out.
Sorry,
And we will.
To win out to get to the playoffs.
Yeah, and we need Washington to lose. Yeah.
So that is the state of affairs. So getting into the weekend, and folks, as we always say, make sure get your comments in. Paul is moderating our comments tonight, so get your comments in, interact with us. We do have RJ Ochoa, who is joining us shortly. He's just running a little bit behind. So get your comments in for RJ. And Paul, if you want to give the shout out to Barry and the team from Cowboys Experience.
Yep, sure thing. So, guys, obviously 2020 is obviously a big write-off for everybody, but for next year, if you're planning on going to a Dallas Cowboys game, be sure to go with Cowboys Experience for the ultimate meet and greet tailgate game day experience, meeting former players, former and current Cowboys players, and also former Dallas cheerleaders alumni. Honestly, me and Jamie cannot say any more, because honestly, we've been treated like royalty by Barry and the team at Cowboys Experience. But if you are planning going, be sure to use the code UK Cowboys and you receive your free gift. So, be sure to visit UK Cowboys. No, UK Cowboys. Cowboys Experience. The discount code is UK Cowboys.
And in the words...
I was just about to say, the code is always up there in the top left.
And in the words of our other Welsh member, don't be a clown, get free stuff.
Get free shit, man.
It's trademark, my boy.
Yeah.
But getting into the weekend, what are our feelings after the weekend?
Very happy.
Yeah, I'm happy. I mean, there was moments in the game that I thought we were actually acting like a team for once.
You know, kind of good example. Obviously ecstatic because we won, but it's just saying it's that kind of feeling of this team isn't good enough to win the Super Bowl. So it's like,
yeah. To be fair, stranger things have happened.
Yeah.
Like the strangest thing ever is the fact that the Eagles have won a Super Bowl. That's the strangest fact.
With a backup quarterback.
Yeah.
With a backup quarterback.
Yeah.
So crazy things have happened. Who knows?
And then you can say it's frustrating as well because all of a sudden the defense has started playing. Where were they for the first 10, 11, 12 weeks of the season?
Well, don't get me wrong, Jamie. There has been games in the early part of the season where I thought, like, we had like a Neville Gallimore having his coming out party game, and we had like Anton Woods like stepping up against Pittsburgh. Like as a defensive effort, we played decent, but overall we still got so many major holes. Like the players are just not trusting the system, etc., etc. But it seems to be now we're just sticking to pure basics again, and we're seeing the difference what's happening. James, that one yep. Is that one of your? I think that's one of your friends there, mate.
Yeah, that's one of the boys, one of my drinking buddies.
Very good, very good. So jumping headlong into things, and I know this was a lot of people were very happy about this. I still have mixed feelings about it from the weekend, but I'll get your guys' thoughts. Tony Pollard, 12 attempts. 69 yards on the ground, 2 touchdowns, 6 catches. I think he had about 43 yards, no touchdowns. Discuss.
63 yards in the air.
That was see for Tony Pollard as an overall performance, brilliant. I thought, like obviously, like what would have really matched up if you had like more yardage and stuff like that as well, just to kind of really boost up. But when you watch the film, he was fantastic. He was fantastic. Like he came in, he did his job, he did exactly what he was supposed to do. And I'm going to say this: the credit is given to the O-line in that game as well. They deserve a lot of credit for that game, and we know how critical we've been given our O-line, despite this third string third string O-lineman stepping in. Players that shouldn't be on the team, well, not necessarily be in the team, but they were undrafted. They were expected to be practice squad players, etc. But for Pollard to come out like that, man, he was fantastic.
I mean, what you're saying though, in terms of the O-line, though, I would say Terrence Steele had a pretty bad game. Like the sack he gave up on Armstead.
Yeah,
that was bad.
I'm just talking about from an overall
in generalities. Yeah.
Like if you were to single out, then Terrence Steele, like for giving up the sack, definitely.
Yeah.
I loved the pick originally when he was taken, and we
all did.
I know Zeke wasn't playing, but he's the perfect complement. Zeke's that big bruising running back that's got speed, and Tony Pollard's just a sneaky little fucker.
He's
touchdown.
He's elusive.
Ball was breaking down. Yeah. He stepped it outside and bang! He went. What? 60 yards. He went for a score. 40 or 60.
40.
That's what you want. You know what I mean? Like I said, the O-line did its job and created some gaps. But bang, bounced on the outside. Never give up on the play, and then was 100% confident in his own ability to get it in the end zone.
I mean, the ironic thing, though, is the thing that Pollard is probably best for this year wasn't particularly that game. What he's done for the team this year is in his kick returning. Like the special teams from last year has gone from rock bottom to like one of the best in the league. Like his kick returning, and even CeeDee Lamb's, because he had a touchdown in this game. But Pollard, more specifically, since we're on him and on that subject, it's his kick returning that for me is the best thing he can provide to the team.
Mike, I'm gonna throw this one back to you. I got in a little bit of trouble with some members of the UK Dallas Cowboys fraternity over the weekend.
Really?
I saw a lot of tweets coming in. Zeke who? This is what we've been waiting for. Tell me why Tony Pollard is not an every down back or will not be a feature back in the NFL.
Right. Well, I mean, there's two reasons. One, he literally is not designed body type wise for the bell cow. And the big one is the main reason why Zeke got drafted. He got drafted all those years ago was to help keep Tony Romo upright. Because while he was in Ohio, he was like by far the best pass blocker coming out of college. It was like his main thing. I don't remember the exact stat. I remember doing it at the time when he got drafted that, like, I think there was something like in his entire college career, he allowed 0 sacks and something like, I think it was 3 quarterback pressures. And it's something like that is that ridiculous. And that's why they got him. Tony Pollard, I mean, not only can he not do it, he won't do it.
He always
won't
be
designed for it.
Like, he's definitely a third down running back, a third downer.
100%.
It's just what you kind of. It's like what you're kind of saying there, mate. Like it's with Zeke. I think the best comparison you can really say, like players that played in the NFL. Like I'm going to give you an example. Jerome Bettis is a prime example.
Yeah.
He was a powerhouse running back. He was there from first down, second down. Like it was impossible to take off the field. He was the battering ram for any team he played for, whether it was the Steelers or whoever. I can't remember the other team he played for, but it's the same with Zeke. You bring Zeke in to be the battering ram, like trying to break down that defense. Then you hit them with Tony Pollard, like depending on the situation of the play. So that's people what needs to understand.
Yeah, and you got to know with Zeke. It's more of a conditioning as well, that this is a guy that in the fourth quarter is exactly the same in terms of tempo, aggression. Like the dirty yards is what makes Zeke special. And he will do that from the first quarter all the way to the fourth. And there's not many running backs that can do that. And Tony Pollard is not that guy. Like
You need to remember as well, he wasn't. This is still relatively new to him because he wasn't even the feature back in college. So
there you go.
Like you said, being that bell cow is just not in his nature. Like Paul said, bring him in on third down. I mean, defense is a bit tired. You need a bit of a change of pace. That's what you use him for. That's what he was essentially brought in for. And then you say the kick returning stuff. But he's not going to get another seat. As much as we all love Tony Pollard, he's got a sole purpose.
Yeah, he is your typical change of pace back. That is exactly what he is, and it's a design on the roster as well that we had all the way back to DeMarco Murray. You had DeMarco Murray, the bell cow. The third down change of pace running back then was Lance Dunbar. It's the exact same situation, the same setup. Yeah, same thing. The same. The only thing I would say, which has confused me this year, is why the coaching staff haven't used Pollard as much as they did since now. You know, there's been many times when I'm sitting and I'm thinking, why are you putting Zeke in on this? But this is not his design. This is a time where you bring Tony in, ideal time, and they haven't done it. And that I can't answer. I don't know why they haven't done that. I mean, coaching issues have been one of them things this year. And even in this game, in the 49ers game, there were a lot of calls and question marks with the coaching.
Just to give you guys a wee heads up here, I've had to delete a couple of comments because we actually had a couple of rival fans commenting, like giving us abuse so far. So we appreciate you coming on, but shouldn't you be focused on your team rather than us?
Just reply saying
bye.
Don't want to
not going to give them the time of day.
Paul, I'm going to throw this one to you. What are we?
The Dallas Cowboys. We are the world's team. Get
there
that fact in your head. Giants fans, you can go suck it off.
As we say, we are the world's team. Often better, but never equals. Everyone hates us, and we love it. But Paul, I am going to throw this across to you, our resident defensive expert.
My sister just popped in the screen there.
What happened at the weekend? And just before we do, RJ Ochoa, welcome to the program. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing well, guys. Apologies for showing up. I've been watching the Carabao Cup and Manchester United disappointing me as they usually do.
No. RJ,
before we go any further, would you like to discuss the weekend's game and the 6-2 result?
all I'm going to do is I'm just going to mute you and RJ because I can't deal with the shit that I'm going to get. I'm guessing RJ now realises that, this Muppet here is a Leeds fan.
I really want to watch the Leeds documentary that was on Amazon Prime. So I really want to check that out. But yeah, it was really nice to see. It was a great weekend. It hasn't been all too often that United and the Cowboys have both won. And so I'm definitely riding high. My Aggies were left out of the college football playoff. It's the only place I didn't win last week. But other than that, everything is well, and it's good to be with you guys. I hope you're all having a Merry Christmas and excited for the holiday and excited for Week 16.
Very, very much so, RJ. And same to you. Hope you, Cammy Bear, and Mama and Papa Ocho are all set for a great holiday season. We're mid post game show at this stage, and we have we've talked about the offense. Is there anything you'd like to discuss on that before we move on to the defensive side of the ball?
I think this has been such an interesting week with the factor and the Tony Pollard factor. I think that I think this might be an important week to look back on, I guess. And I don't want to sound too existential, but it will be very interesting to see how the Cowboys handle things with Ezekiel Elliott now that they've seen Tony Pollard with a full game's work, whether their previous notions or dispositions have changed. I don't know that they have. I don't know that any of us think that they have, just because they are so Zeke centered. But I think that's a factor, and I think it was. I don't know. I also have maybe it's the holiday spirit, but I do feel like overall offensively they're stable. I mean, which is an improvement, and I mean they've won 3 of their last 5 games, and they've looked like an offense that can that at least is worthy of being in the NFL, and that felt impossible a month ago, and so that's nice to see it.
Yeah, it's very true. Just before you jumped on, we were just about to turn it over to the defensive side of the ball. And Paul, you're our defensive expert. For a team on Sunday who had 15 first downs against 28, 300 yards of offense against 450, how did we win that game?
I'll be perfectly honest with you. The game was much of a blur. I'll be honest. I'm not going to lie. It was actually kind of nice to see D-Law actually come out and actually our most critics come out saying D-Law, I know Graham's watching right now.
That's why I was giggling.
So I'm going to try and keep it short and sweet. It was just actually nice to see certain players that we've been criticising all season long actually make the step up.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's funny you mentioned D-Law. I mean, he's on 4 forced fumbles for the year, which is the career high for him.
And it's just so weird. There's been games where we've just been absolutely. I don't know, man. It's been games where it's just been so infuriating, where we're just not being able to do anything to stop the run and stuff like that.
That's the issue.
Yeah, and there was moments in the game that we should have done a lot better, especially in the inside run. But other than that, it seems to be the same story. But we are getting better week by week, just ever so slightly.
I think we touched on it a little bit last week, and it was nice to see again. And I said we touched on it a little bit earlier before RJ came on, and I said, if it's like they're all of a sudden starting to get comfortable in the system that they're in. The offense seems a little bit more balanced in terms of the run and the passing game. And the defense is starting to get turnovers and starting to get a lot of penetration at the line. They're saying it's just a shame that it's come. I won't say too late in the season because we've still got a chance of making the playoffs, but it's scary to think that if, let's say, the last 2 weeks, if we'd have been playing like this from the start of the season, where we would actually be right now.
Mm-hmm. RJ, throwing it across to you there. What happened on Sunday?
I if I'm being honest, I think I tweeted out on Sunday night after the Giants lost that the Cowboys were the only team in the NFC East to win last week, and it was a lot of fun. It was funny, and I had some Eagles fans find it, and they rightly pointed out, the Eagles played the Cardinals, and the Giants played the Browns, and Washington played the Seahawks, and Seattle, Cleveland, and Arizona are all teams that destroyed the Cowboys, right? That was a really painful day. And so I don't want to take away from Sunday's performance and Sunday's win for the Cowboys, but I think things are just normalizing for them. I think, they've gotten their chance to play Cincinnati, to play San Francisco. As Graham points out in the comments here, turnover points equals wins. Who knew? I saw Bob Stern wrote about this in The Athletic. For like the first half of the season, the Cowboys had something like 2 drives that began on the plus side of the 50-yard line. Mm-hmm. Lately, those have come not necessarily in bunches, but they've come at a higher frequency. And so, not that I don't think any of us thinks that they can turn all of those, possessions into touchdowns, but if they can pile up 9 points a game off of turnovers or fumbles or whatever, just by way of field goals, like that's a difference. I mean, and so I think that's what's happening. I think they're playing bad teams, and I think that includes Philly this week. I think that they are more opportunistic, and I think that they're just settling in. I think it's worth mentioning to be positive. They've won 3 of their last 5 games, and the 2 losses were Washington on Thanksgiving after the tragic loss of Coach Marcus Paul on a short week that really just kind of disrupted everything, and Baltimore. I mean, so, I don't know. I mean, I think this is just who they are, but who they are is capable of beating teams that are worse than them, and they're just now finally starting to come around and playing those teams.
RJ, I've got a tweet in from Graham here again. He's got a question: is Mike Nolan saving his job, or is it too late?
That's a terrifying question, honestly. I think that I think both things can be true. That Mike Nolan deserves credit, however much you want to assign, but he deserves credit for buckling down and winning in the NFL, which is not easy, with the whole world thinking he's a joke. And especially last week, his Cowboys defense handled the Bengals that we saw have success against one of the better defenses in the NFL in Pittsburgh on Monday night. And he did that on the day that it was reported on the Sunday morning shows that he was going to be out of a job in the offseason. I think, he deserves kudos. I mean, if we're grading on a curve here, I mean, maybe it's bumped up a little bit, but I think too much damage has been done to save his job entirely next season. And so I think there will undoubtedly be a new defensive coordinator. And I think that who it is will say a lot about what the Cowboys want to do with their defense and with their personnel. My new worry is that there will be an offensive coordinator that's new in town with the Boise State job opening up. And
I read that. I read that earlier.
Yeah. So I'll throw a question here, RJ. If there is going to be a new offensive coordinator, does that then mean Mike Nolan might be safer in his job?
That's an interesting angle. In that, one of the things we all, I think, pumped up about this staff was like how many leaders are on it, right? Like how many former head coaches. And so if you have to have a new offensive coordinator, obviously the more continuity you can have, the better. I think that's difficult. It would be very, very difficult for the Cowboys brass to sell keeping Mike Nolan. Even it wasn't long ago that they kept Scott Linehan and we all freaked out. You know what I mean? And so
that's true.
They've already kind of burned that get out of jail free card in terms of keeping a coordinator that nobody likes. I think the answer to that in terms of moves, one of our writers at BTB, David Howman, suggested this. I think, and this depends on how much you believe in Mike McCarthy, but I think it's possible if Kellen leaves for whatever reason, maybe Mike McCarthy just makes Joe Philbin his offensive coordinator, who was his offensive coordinator in Green Bay, Granted, in 2011 when they were very good before he got the job in Miami. So he makes Joe Philbin offensive coordinator and calls plays himself. Like that's a possibility, like one possible way this goes. And if you still believe in Mike McCarthy, then cool, awesome, celebrate. But if you don't, then that's really terrifying to consider.
Just to kind of sorry, Brad, just to kind of
go on, Jimmy.
Just playing devil's advocate a little bit. Just we obviously know Mike McCarthy's coming back next year, but with how it's gone so far, do you think he'll be on a shorter leash next year? And if things go, as we say, a bit Pete, I mean, we could see a change mid-season next year.
I don't think so, because I think to properly evaluate him, you've got to give him a full season of Dak Prescott. I mean, that's just, it's so difficult to sustain success without a franchise quarterback. I mean, he didn't have that, and by all measures, he should in 2021. And so I think at the very least, he's safe through next season. I also think, I mean, he has been dealt an inordinate amount of challenges, just like everybody has. But I mean, obviously the pandemic, I mean, losing all the players. I mean, Dak gets all the focus, but I mean, he's lost how many offensive linemen? He's lost Leighton Vander Esch at times, Cheeto at times. Obviously, the loss of Coach Marcus Paul. He was obviously close with Kevin Green, who passed away this week tragically. So, I mean, there's just a lot going on in Mike McCarthy's life. And I think, it would serve him well to be able to kind of catch a breath. I think that that's true for a lot of people. And I think we saw that in a very small way after the bye, when the Cowboys went out and really handled the Minnesota Vikings. That was their opportunity to kind of just breathe and think and de-stress and kind of get everything that they needed together, and they played well. And so I think that could go a long way. But I would be stunned if he was fired mid-season next year. I do think whenever hopefully our world returns to normal, it will be very interesting to see how McCarthy handles Jerry Jones talking immediately after games, because that's been a different factor this year. He hasn't had to put up with Jerry's, Jerry speaks a lot, obviously, but it hasn't been at the same frequency that it normally is. And that's part of the job that Jason Garrett handled rather well. And so it will be interesting to see how Mike McCarthy does when that becomes a normal factor.
Yeah. I've got another question in from Graham. So has anyone earned a new deal amongst our cornerbacks?
Well, the two contenders are Cheeto and Jordan Lewis, right? And if you told me the Cowboys brought either one of them back, I'd probably be pretty pleased. Just because I think that Cheeto played really well, probably had his best game last week against the 49ers. I think Jordan's been more consistent. There's a lot of people that talk online that want to see Jordan play safety. So maybe that's not, bringing him back as a corner if that happens. But
see that.
I would be fine either way, because you're going to need bodies. Right now your plans in 2021 are Trayvon Diggs and Anthony Brown. I mean, so you need dudes. Yeah. And so I think that we might see a lot of one-year deals around the NFL in general, just with the wonky year and get your 1-year deal, your prove-it deal, get an opportunity to really kind of capitalize and move forward towards 2022.
That's a good point you kind of made there, because when you think about, we've got, what is it, like 29 players that are going to be free agents next year, or end of the season.
29.
Reduced cap as well.
So and I think quite a lot of them are on the defensive side, isn't it, Brian?
Yeah, it is. But Mike has been waiting patiently for this question. I know he has. I can tell from the look on his face. Mike,
I've been drinking my beer, mate.
RJ, as a Texas Aggies man yourself, you
I'll bring that question next.
Donovan Wilson, shining light of the defense this season. Another great game at the weekend, and you could tell the difference in our safety play.
He got his first career interception, and that's where it all begins. As soon as you get the first one out the way, they come in bunches, as they say. But it's his forced fumbles. I do feel though the penalty he gave, whatever you want to call it, targeting, as they call it in college, but you know, the roughing the player, whatever, you know. I think that's a bit of a bad call. I hate them, but I do understand the reason why. And it's always a bad call when it's on you. When it's the other way around, you're like, oh yeah, of course. That's the only thing I'll say. But I do think Donovan Wilson, he is, and I mean, he's part of the turnover team, if you like, that's making this. I mean, 8th consecutive game now with 2 turnovers or more on defense. He's part of that equation. You know,
with the apart from that Hail Mary towards the end, could you say this was probably the defense's best game of the year?
If you don't count Cincinnati, right? Like if you count, you know, because that's a particular outlier, and like, you know, you get the fumbles early on that changes the whole game. So like, you know, coast to coast, like beginning to end, I think that's a contender certainly, and Nick Mullins certainly helped. My only thing, and it sucks that like it has to be an Aggie that like this point comes out with, but like Donovan Wilson's awesome, and it's super cool that he wears number 37. That's such a badass number for a safety.
Right.
But like we've seen this movie before. Like this was like in 2017, Xavier Woods had that awesome interception in Atlanta where he like stretched out and everything. And like we were all sitting here saying like, this is the guy, this 6th round pick, this, you know, whatever, he's awesome. Let's, you know, he's the future, whatever. And now like everybody hates Xavier Woods. And so like Donovan Wilson's awesome, and maybe he will be a fine safety one day, but the odds overwhelmingly suggest that he won't be. And so my concern would be that just like they did with Xavier Woods and just like they've done with a billion people before him, the Cowboys say, we're good. We don't need Juan Thornhill. We've got Xavier Woods. No. You need the Juan Thornhills of the world. Donovan Wilson's awesome, and I will totally go to bat for him every day. But don't poo-poo a better option just because you think you've got the guy.
Yeah.
And I mean, the biggest issue, which was the same with him in Texas A&M, is that he can be overly aggressive. And in the NFL, you be overly aggressive unless you're like, you've got the athleticism, which is borderline with, it can sting you quick.
Yeah.
Guys, I've got a ton of questions coming in right now, so I'll bring Tim's back up. What do you think the odds are that Jerry will make good on his threat to fire him himself?
A guy who owns the richest team in the world is not going to fire himself.
Not a chance. But if you want to pull up Graham's question, I think that's a great question.
Yeah, I'll go. I'll go with Graham's first. Sean Lee, the linebacker coach for RDC next year. Ooh.
Sounds like it.
So first of all, the odds are better. The Ronaldo back to United rumors are better than Jerry firing himself. So more likely. But so I will be honest with you guys, like I always am. I normally hate the former player should be the position he played coach for the Cowboys trope.
Yeah.
That like people do that every year. Like, oh, the Cowboys just make Tony Romo the offensive coordinator and DeMarcus Ware the linebackers coach, and Darren Woodson the secondary coach, and it'll be awesome. And like those things sound cool, but they would not be anywhere near as cool. Yeah. Sean Lee is the lone exception to that. If there's a dude that can go straight from playing, I guess Kellen Moore already did it technically, but to being an elite player to an elite coach, I don't think he could be a defensive coordinator right away. But if anybody's on the path, it's certainly Sean Lee. I mean, he's the closest thing. I'm wearing a San Antonio Spurs shirt right now. He's the closest thing that the Cowboys have to Tim Duncan. That is kind of that coach on the field already. But his body just can't support him anymore. And so I think that is highly possible. I know he was very, very, very close with Matt Eberflus when he was the linebackers coach. So he kind of knows that lifestyle. And so I would be a big fan of it.
I completely agree, and it's funny that you kind of mentioned that. Like, we've seen it before when he was out for the season, how he was teaching Vanderish and teaching Jalen Smith, like going over the Surface tablet during plays, and even during the All or Nothing TV. I've mentioned this in previous shows. Like, the amount of effort and time and preparation he does for every single game is just unlimited. Like, he just puts so much preparation into it. Even though he might be not playing on the game, he still helps his teammates, and that is a sign of like that guy can easily transition into a coach that way. It's just spending that amount of time and
you know what,
video.
It reminds me a little bit, and I just mentioned he's there a little bit like how you see Tony Romo in the booth now, and that's what Sean Lee's like. He sees the play before it happens, and like you said, he knows his franchise inside out. He's just like you say, he's just one of them people that you say if he's taken out of players and he doesn't get a lot of game time, he don't throw his dummy out of his pram.
It's just physically.
Someone else would say, right, this is what you need to do. He's the ultimate kind of. He's the ultimate teammate. Like I say, it's that, and it's side before self, and it's, you know what I mean. You've got to put the sacrifice of you want to play every down, but you're not going to play every down, especially where he's in his career. But he wants to. You can see he wants to leave that position in a better position than he came into. So, and that's what I would have no problem with him coming back. Like I just said, maybe not as a coordinator. Give him a couple of years.
Or an assistant just to break the ice.
Yeah. But we've run way over, and we still haven't touched on half the things. But I mean, Mike, take us away on the pre-game show, will you? How about against that? I dare not even mention their name.
Fuck the Eagles.
But we like to do things like that with our guests just to give them a smile, because they're just like totally not used to you. They're just like going off on one.
I'm such a troll.
But let's get into the first of all, guys, the injury and the updates, because we got quite a few, but as I did last week, there's some bad news and good news to go with each. So first of all, we'll go through the injury news and updates. First of all, Leighton Vander Esch is ruled as out with his ankle injury. It was touch and go, but apparently from today, they have ruled him out. Obviously, come Sunday, whether that changes, I can't see it though. Michael Gallup is questionable with his hip, but he has practiced, so that's good news. Xavier Woods is questionable with a rib injury that he got. Zeke questionable with his calf, but it has come out today he's practiced and that he's going to play this weekend. So that's good news. Rashard Robinson's questionable with his knee, and Antoine Woods, which is a big one, he's questionable with his ankle, and it doesn't look like he's going to play. RJ, you probably know because you're closer to it all than we are. I mean, we got to wait for the news to travel the Atlantic. So you might be there a bit earlier than us. Does it look like Antoine Woods is playing, or does that look like it's more than what the information we're getting here is that he's not going to play? Is that correct?
I really,
or not sure.
I think it's a not sure situation. That's kind of been how Mike McCarthy has rolled this year. It's been interesting to watch how he handles these things. I think he likes to keep his cards close to the vest, and it's a little strange, I think, with how much information's out there, but he's an old school guy. So he did mention in his press conference today that the week would be different, that that they had adjusted the schedule to allow everybody enough time to spend Christmas with their families. And so he talked about how Saturday was going to be a bigger day than normal. So I think that, if things aren't right by Saturday, then it's time to freak out, but it's still early, lots of time.
Yeah. And then the only other two news we've already touched on, Kellen Moore with the Boise State talk, and also with Washington losing and the Giants losing, because the Giants have to lose 2 games, but they play the Cowboys who have to win out. That means that the playoff hopes and race is still in full flow. Although this weekend is probably, for me, the big depender, because Washington play Panthers. That's the one. That was the one for me where I was like, I'm
sorry, but I can't help but laugh about the situation at Washington for what Dwayne Hassan done. That's just mental.
Yeah. You want about his comments and all the rest?
No, I'm not talking about his actions.
Well, they're not very good too. Yeah, yeah.
To be fair, I don't blame them. To be fair,
I have to say I love Kelsey's tweet earlier in the day. RJ, you might have seen it as well. I hope she was worth it. He had to give up half his wage back this week.
The part I found most interesting, or not most interesting, but it was reported that Washington removed Dwayne Haskins' captaincy as a result of all this. And I'm just like, why was he a captain before?
That was what I was thinking.
I just don't that's really strange to me. But yeah, I have no clue how you power through that.
The weirdest thing about it all is, and not saying that NFL players can't go to strip bars and stuff. Everyone's a human. Everyone likes to wind down in whatever way outside of work. But did he just not think? It's same with any sport. Any sports star goes to a strip joint. Someone is going to take a video or take a picture and he's going to leak it.
Yeah.
It's
just what the fuck are you thinking?
It's just the wild ride, isn't it? You know, I mean,
and it's not just that. You've got the Eagles now, who
who are going the other way.
The franchise quarterback wants to leave now because he's been a bitch.
It is true, but let's break in for the next 10 minutes into the Cowboys offense. The first thing note that I put straight away is the Eagles D-line. They are second in the NFL in sacks. And against this O-line that's playing two undrafted free agents. And obviously, Joe Looney, I think, is literally running out of time with the Dallas Cowboys the way he's playing. Is that something that nerves you? I'll ask you this one, RJ, specifically. Is that something that unnerves you with the way that things are going for them?
I mean, yes and no, right? Like, I'm certainly concerned about, the lack of talent they have there, but they do have a level of consistency going, right? Which has been unheard of for them. And so, whether Joe Philbin is promoted in any capacity next year remains to be seen, but I think he deserves credit. I mean, the guys had a lot of changes to overcome along the offensive line this season, and not that it's always gone swimmingly or smoothly, but I think he's made it work to a degree that, I mean, the Cowboys have won 2 games in a row. They've been against really bad teams, but their offensive line has played rather well, and they deserve credit for that. And so I don't know that they will have the same success against Philadelphia. I think it will be a much taller task, but I think that they're capable of surviving, which is kind of who this team is ultimately from top to bottom.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, what's funny is although they're getting these high amount of sacks, the crazy bit is overall defensively, their defense on giving up yards is right at the top. I mean, in the last 4 games on their own, they've given up over 1,600 yards.
Do you know that their front seven as well has always notoriously been really good as well?
Historically, yeah, of course.
Well, Mike, I've got it's kind of a follow-up question. It's just to bring back Austin's question from earlier before.
Sure.
Do you think the refs don't protect backup quarterbacks like they do with franchise ones? It's kind of somewhat related.
Yeah, into the O-line, and I do get what you're saying. It is something I think is a narrative that fits for definite, depending on how high of a quarterback in notorianism that you are. Does seem to be that you get more of those roughing the passer calls.
I think the NFL protects stars. I mean, and that happens at non-quarterback positions. It's mostly quarterbacks, but and so there's just very few star quarterbacks in the NFL that are backups. I mean, Jalen Hurts is one, but that's about it.
Yeah, I mean, if we go back to talking of the running backs, and I get all of your decisions, and we'll move on to the defense. Is Zeke obviously is looking to come back, but based on what we saw last week with Tony Pollard, do you think we're going to see some more combos and certainly some more running back spells I'll go to you first, Paul, on it. Certainly some more running back spells with Tony Pollard after what we spoke about earlier. Or do you think it's going to go completely the opposite way based on the Eagles' sack rate?
I think
go on, Paul.
I think this could be one of those games where we're going to shock the world. I really do. It could happen. I mean, Zeke's back this week, right?
Yes, looking that way.
Yeah.
Right. So, like you said, when you think about the stats, 1,600 yards in the past 4 games, that counts for something. Like, do you know if it's the difference between rushing yards or is it passing yards?
So rushing yards, they give up a lot. They're right down the bottom. Right. They give up 126 yards per game.
Right. Okay. So that to me, like, so for me, I definitely think we're going to go for more of that 1-2 punch combo. Bring Zeke in again, and bring in Tony Pollard just to kill him off. Like, I think Pollard's going to get more of he's going to put more points on the board, but we're going to use Zeke as the battering ram pretty much, I think. Do
you agree with that narrative, RJ?
Yeah, I mean, kind of. I like, it is such a fascinating thing. There are so many people that think that Jerry has influence on the team and whatnot, and this week will tell us a lot about that. Like, if Ezekiel Elliott is the main dude, if Tony Pollard's touches aren't that high in volume, I think that's that would seemingly be a directive from upstairs, right? Because Jerry Jones's vision of the Cowboys is Zeke Elliott getting the ball 30 times and doing the feed me and everything, and so I think he wants to stick with that. I mean, I thought it was really interesting that that Stephen Jones, talking about Tony Pollard's success last week, and to be fair, he had a 40-yard run at the end. But was kind of just not super impressed. It does feel like it doesn't line up with their priorities, I guess. Maybe that's not the case. Maybe they truly are as happy as can be, but it's just hard to believe given how much they have invested in Zeke in a lot of ways.
I mean, for me, the biggest thing with Zeke is just basically it's the threat that he poses, which is why this is a running back that has the highest percentage of stack boxes against him than any other running back in the league. And that, for me, is the biggest part that changes between him and Pollard more than anything. I don't know. That's something that you will agree with. But let's move on to the defense then, guys. First of all, Jalen Hurts, somewhat of an insurgence in the last few games. He is the fourth quarterback
in 2 trash schools.
yeah, okay. But he is the 4th quarterback in NFL history to have 5 touchdowns with 0 interceptions in his first 2 starts. So this is a guy right now who is on fire, or at least doing well. But the question I want to ask you guys, because I enjoy just rubbing salt into the wound, and I'm going to go round the wheel on all of you on this, is Carson Wentz. What is next for this guy? Is he staying with the Eagles? Can you see him moving on? Because, I mean, this is a guy in all 4 quarters where you literally go through all the emotions with one quarterback. I mean, he'll start off like the MVP and finish with a guy who doesn't deserve to be an undrafted free agent. But what do we all see for him next year?
Eagles are screwed regardless. Salary
they are. True.
But personally,
the Patriots and wins the Super Bowl.
Yeah, well, you probably like, I don't know, but either way, the Eagles are screwed in the salary cap if they trade them away or whatever. And that can you even afford to move them away? You know what I mean? Is it worth just like they better actually be cheaper keeping them on?
Or do you look like a man who is an answer on this one?
He's looking. I don't know. He's looking like he's sitting on the fence. Yeah. He's moved back. You always say, watch the body language, and he's moved back from the camera where he's trying to separate himself.
No, there's two comments in there. One of them, and he doing a Netflix series with his wife Megan, old Prince Harry. But just to kind of touch on what Paul said, I'm sure I seen a tweet somewhere saying that it might, to be fair, it might have been Adam Schefter the weekend. even though his contract is sky high, it can essentially be a tradable contract, because I think if the Eagles wait till a certain point in the off season and they take a chunk of that on, so I think if they pay the roster bonus, then the other team are then only on the hook for so much. So I think it depends. If that's true, if I've read right, then it's definitely not going to be with the Eagles, is it? I just think, and I think more so just for the fact that if you've got a franchise leader, and I know people get bored about it sometimes, and I'm just going to go back to the point when Tony came back from injury, when Dak was playing, where Tony could have spat his dummy out and gone, you know what, this was essentially my team. I want my job back. If not, I want to go. And he came out and said, look, Dak's earned his right to be the quarterback of his team, so we're going to ride with Dak, and I'm going to get behind Dak. Now, if Carson Wentz is a leader, then he should take that on the chin and say, look, yeah, Hurts deserves his chance. I'll do what I can for the team. So I think his future's away from Philadelphia. I just think it's how that contract plays out. I say, if I've read it right, then it's a tradable contract at some point. But if not, he's going to be riding the pine for a while.
I am dying to hear RJ's take on this. I really am.
Yeah, go on, RJ.
So, yeah, I mean, it's very difficult for the Eagles to trade him. There's a number of places that would be interesting, certainly. I think Indianapolis is at the top of that list, and a reunion with Frank Reich. I think we all probably feel this way. Like there are players that I like to see leave the NFC East because I want to root for them. Like I would love for Zach Ertz to leave the NFC East because I really like him and would like to root for him openly. And I think Carson Wentz is one of those guys. And while Carson has been terrible, and Carson is not one of the best 32 quarterbacks in the NFL right now, I mean, it should be said that the Eagles really, really were unkind to him. And, like nothing you can do about the Nick Foles situation 3 years ago, that was what it was. And even 2 years ago when Carson got hurt again and he led them back. But I mean, I think that the drafting of Jalen Hurts was mean. Like there's no other word to use. Like it was mean to do that to Carson Wentz after he had, kind of exercised all those demons last year, led the Eagles, beat the Cowboys, won the division, and kind of had that all taken away from him in the playoffs against the Seahawks. And so is Carson Wentz somebody that needs to have a little bit of self-reflection? Totally. But I mean, he didn't get there just because he's terrible. He got there because his team pushed him there. And so, is it unfortunate that Carson is now being a bit petulant and is leaking things about how, he doesn't want to be the backup? Yeah. And would it be cooler if he was a better person or a more upstanding teammate about that? Absolutely. But I mean, the Eagles are not blameless, and Carson's right in that. But now Carson, it sucks. I feel for him because he's in a situation now where Jalen Hurts is playing well, and everything the Eagles are doing looks right and proper and true. And he's kind of been villainized in this story. And so I feel for him in that capacity. And so I would really like to see him get away from there. And I love Jalen Hurts, and I really think he's a fun player. But I think it would be funniest overall to see Carson go anywhere else and just ball out and laugh at the Eagles for moving on from him and being responsible for the worst part of his career.
Do you know what was strange about that pick? Was just the Eagles had so many needs that they could have addressed with that pick.
Yeah.
To think you've paid this quarterback all this money, but to go out and get one in the second round as high as they picked him as well, it just makes you think what's going on behind closed doors as well in that franchise.
There is a lot of talk behind the scenes. Sorry, I'll come back to you now, Bright. But there is a lot of talk behind the scenes about how Wentz has lost the locker room and that his teammates don't respect him. It keeps coming out, that narrative. Go on, Bright.
Yeah. Do you know the funny thing I've seen on Twitter and from a few people today is when Philadelphia are on the clock, if Justin Fields is still there, are they going to not pull the trigger on Justin Fields at quarterback?
They very well could. They very well could.
And what message does that then send out about the Philadelphia Eagles?
I mean,
but then again, Justin Fields is like a top 5 pick.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter.
It is a. I mean, I don't know that Jalen Hurts' psyche would be as damaged by that, and that sounds like a weakness of Carson. But but again, like Carson had to. We all know the story. He had to go through something incredibly emotionally painful and uplifting. And how many people have probably told him, you were just as a part of that 2017 team as everybody else was. That ring is just as much yours as it is Nick Foles's. But we all can put ourselves in that situation and feel like we would feel differently. In Carson Wentz, I'm not a big fable guy, but he's Cyrano. That's who Carson Wentz is. He's Cyrano. He didn't get the girl. Nick Foles got the girl, and that's what happened. And so, that's why, I think he finally broke through that last year after having been given that contract. And to Jamie's point, I mean, you could have just doubled down on the idea that he was your guy. I mean, the Eagles made this bet. The moment they drafted Jalen Hurts, this conversation began. And I mean, that would wear on anybody. And so, especially someone who had already been through it to a painful degree before in Carson Wentz. And so I do feel very badly for him. I would love to see him end up anywhere else and root him on. And I would love for him to just be awesome. I think Indianapolis is not going to happen. I don't think that Philly's going to take that chance. I think that one of Carson Wentz or Zach Ertz is a Chicago Bear next year. That just feels obvious to me.
That feels like, that sounds like a good idea. But let me get your score predictions then, guys. I always let you have a bit of a think, give you some time. So I'll let you go first because I've already written mine. Based purely on the Eagles running, how many yards they allow on rushing and how bad things are for them in allowing yards for the opposing offense. So I've gone for the Cowboys 23-17. That's right. Go in there. But everyone at home, send us your score predictions and we'll go around the horn. Brian, give me your score predictions.
That was exactly the score I was going with, 23-17, 2 touchdowns.
I like it. All right. And Paul, what are you going with?
I'm going 38-31 Cowboys.
I like it. I like that a lot. All right, Jake, we'll give you that one, and then we'll give our special guest the final honor. But what are you going with, Jake?
The Eagles can kiss my hairy Yorkshire ass. They're getting nothing from us this weekend. Cowboys by 17 this week.
Yes, baby!
Oh, we got some numbers coming in. You can always tell when there's a rivalry team playing each other. But RJ, bring some sense into the matter. What do you think the score's going to be?
Manchester United did win last week, 6-2.
Come on, RJ, we got through an hour
that's 6 goals. That's 6 scores. I think the Cowboys score 6 times, but I think that a majority of those are field goals. I think it's like 4 field goals and 2 touchdowns, something like that. I think that kind of feels right. I think 26-17. I think it's a wonky score, and a game that feels closer than it really is all game long. So, and 26, by the way, the inverse of 6-2. So, well done in that regard.
Yeah,
it's a good job. We love you, RJ, for bringing that Man United comment in there.
I just feel that the last Eagles win they had was just totally unconvincing. So that's what we're going with. Yeah. Now, obviously, RJ, you're no stranger to the show. You're as part of the furniture. At this rate, we're going to have to start sending you some checks in the mail to coming on this show. But you know all about the fantasy section we do at the end. Very, very simple. I give you the score. Boy, oh boy, is for more. Oh boy, which has less words on it, means that's going to score less. Make sure you play at home, guys. Nice way to finish off the show. Bit of fun as well. So I'm going to give you the honor first, RJ. I'm going to give you... Okay, I'll ask you, because you get the honor. Usually I don't give this to anyone else, but you get this honor. Do you want Andy Dalton or Jalen Hurts?
I want Jalen Hurts because I think there's a lot of people starting Jalen Hurts, I think.
Oh, yeah. Okay. He's predicted, rounded off score, 19 fantasy points by NFL.com.
That's a boy, oh boy situation. I think rushing yards is going to, there's going to be a lot of rushing yards involved. I think 19 is a very, very, very safe floor for him, unfortunately. I mean, if we get a moment of Jalen on Jalen action, that only ends one way, and it will hurt a lot. So
Jalen on Jalen action. Okay, so the next one is a little less easy then. I noticed you took that. So I'm going to get Andy Dalton. And for this, I'm going to give to, of course, a guy who's going to be really annoyed, Mr. Paul Stewart.
Right.
Every time.
Hit me with that.
Go on, boy, oh boy, or oh boy for Andy Dalton with 15 fantasy points.
Boy, oh boy.
Yeah, I'm going with that too. Especially when you start looking at what they're predicting the wide receivers to have, which never matches up. Yeah. All right. Let's go with the running backs. Okay, we're going to say Zeke is starting, Brian. 14 fantasy points.
Boy, oh boy.
Boy, oh boy.
I've already
we'll go
2 touchdowns.
Yeah, all right. Miles Sanders against the NFL's worst rushing defense, Jamie. 13 fantasy points.
Oh, shit.
Boy, oh boy.
Boy, oh, yeah, it's got to be in it.
Has to be.
All right. Okay. You spoke about the tight ends, but which tight end do you want, RJ? Do you want Schultz or do you want Goddard?
I want Schultz. Very easily.
Okay, Schultz. All right. 9 fantasy points for a guy who has just completely blown it out the water this year.
Man, that's tough.
Yeah.
Just so you know, RJ, you can say level. You can say level.
Yeah,
as well.
yeah. We have added that recently.
He that's extremely touchdown dependent.
Yeah.
I hate to disappoint. I will say, oh boy. I think.
Yeah, okay.
I think this is more of an Amari Gallup CD game. I think Schultz maybe finishes with like 6 catches for 48 yards or something, but that's done.
If he's like them sort of weird red zone chunks is really where you're looking at.
Yeah.
From. Yeah. Okay. Paul, I'm going to give you Amari Cooper, 14 fantasy points.
Ooh.
Boy, oh boy. Based on my score prediction.
Yeah. Well, look. He's got like 48 yards to break the 1,000-yard barrier for the season. So
he's getting it. What way to do it against the bloody trash team that is the Eagles? So I'm happy.
Boom.
And Darius Slay, because Darius Slay is supposed to return for this game. They traded for him specifically to guard Amari Cooper, so that would be a lot of fun.
That would be like the final nail in the coffin. Yeah, I like that. Okay, CD Lamb, who had over 80 yards last game. He's due to score 13 fantasy points, Brian.
No.
Oh,
boy. I think this is going to be a Michael Gallup week.
Yeah, like RJ said, yeah.
Yeah. That sort of game on the outside. All right. I'm going to give you Dallas. Not the defense, but Goddard, Jamie. 11 fantasy points.
What the hell is smoking?
Just sit on the fence. I'm going to say level for that one. Actually.
Level peg on that one. All right.
I would go, boy.
No, I don't know. Yeah. All right, then. I'll give RJ the Dallas defense, rounded off to 6 fantasy points.
Yeah, that's an oh boy. If I've actually this is a really sore spot for me in my league of record. 2 weeks ago, I was in a must-win game to get into the playoffs, and I lost mostly because I played the New Orleans Saints defense against Jalen Hurts. That blew up in my face. So I will say, oh boy, from personal experience.
Alrighty, and then the last defender on the show, Mr. Paul Stewart, 6 fantasy points for the Philadelphia Eagles as well.
Paul, come on. You know you want to say, oh boy.
Yeah.
Come on.
Come on. Do us proud.
Give him the score.
Whoa, calm the fuck down, boys. I'm pretty sexist here. I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to say, boy, oh boy, but only just. I'd say maybe if you said 8 or 9 points, then I would say level.
Nice save. Nice save.
Yeah, I see where you're going there.
So,
but guys, that neatly wraps up this year's Christmas special for 2020. If you want to call 2020 special, mind, I'm not sure many people will agree with that comment.
Well, if they took it 2020, it would have been better.
Yeah. But RJ, mate, I know you. Every time we ask you, you're just like, yeah, I'm coming with bells on. Whenever we ask you, there's never a question. You're like the easiest guy to say yes to us, and we always appreciate you coming on and giving us the time. And even my annoying messages to you, you know, late at night, early in the morning, whatever, where I'm complaining about something.
No, I appreciate you guys having me on. I'm really glad that we've been friends for all these years. I tell you this all the time. I mean, I really admire you guys and how much you love the Cowboys to kind of follow the way that you do. And I can't imagine what that would be like. I complain enough as is. And so I appreciate you having me on. I really thank you for the time. I hope you guys and your families have a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And I hope you all stay safe. Looking forward to hopefully getting over there. Jamie, we can go check out. We can watch one of the EPL's better teams in Manchester United, and everybody can have a good time.
We'll have to get you to Ellen Road, and you'll soon flip sides. And trust me.
RJ, I need to get you supporting a Scottish team, and it has to be Glasgow Celtic. I need to get you supporting them as well.
You know, I'm available.
Teams in Scotland.
I'm available to subscribe to a Scottish team. So, Paul, if you want to make that happen, you've got my support. But yeah, so I hope you guys, and hopefully we have more than 2 games left and can enjoy it and get some draft talk after that. But thank you guys so much. I always enjoy hanging out with you.
No. We appreciate your time more than anything, mate. You know us lot. Anything that you give is always grateful. But from us as well over in the UK, hope you, the family, everybody stay safe. Has a great Christmas and New Year, and we will definitely be getting you on to talk draft when the season kicks off, which is very, very soon. I've got my draft board going, filling up quite nicely. Probably completely wrong, mine. By the time I finished it, it'll be backwards to what all the experts are saying. But if I'm honest with you, I'm more right than the experts. Just nobody knows.
I believe it.
Yeah.
Mike, our fantasy league begs to differ.
Fantasy's fantasy.
Well, I'm in the final where me and Mike and fellow UK fellow Cowboys influencers. I'm in the final, so get it right.
Mate, I picked too many players from COVID teams. That's what messed me up. But anyway, everybody at home as well, and we see your comments coming in. Have a nice Christmas and a New Year. We'll see you next week for New Year's. Brian's on Tuesday with a post-game show. We're back on New Year's Eve. Since nobody's going out, we thought, well, why not? Grab yourself a beer and a bottle of wine or a bottle of vodka. RJ will have his beer helmet on. With Jack Daniels in one side and Coke on the other.
Oh my God, that's a great idea.
But from myself, from Brian, Paul, Jamie, and RJ, have a nice Christmas. See you all in the New Year.
Have a nice Christmas, everyone.
Take care, everyone. Have a great Christmas.